Did you know that a hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas is rumored to be one of the most haunted places in America? Built in 1886, this grand old building wears its years like a badge of honor, gathering more than dust and memories over the past century. Its history reads like a real-life Stephen King novel, peppered with tales of ghosts, spirits, and strange happenings. They say truth is stranger than fiction. Let's explore today. A few years ago, I had the most delightful stay at the 1886 Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. The hotel is famous for being one of the most haunted places in America, and I must say, the reputation is well deserved. The anticipation was high, as I hoped for a spooky encounter during my stay, and the hotel gave me more than I bargained for. Even though some time has passed since my visit, I still eagerly await the day I can return to that intriguing place. The journey there was an adventure in itself, navigating the mountain's twisting roads and finally reaching the splendid Crescent. The thought of the spectral encounters that awaited me had me thrilled about the overnight stay at the haunted hotel. As my travel companions and I entered the hotel, check-in was smooth sailing. We received our room's metallic keys, a charming old-world touch that I absolutely adored. Our room for the next 2 nights was on the 2nd floor, which we reached, lugging our bags up an open staircase. Room 202, our home away from home for the next 2 nights, was delightful. It offered ample space and comfort, including a sitting room with grand windows and a balcony fitted with rocking chairs. Our ghostly adventure began at 9 p.m. with a ghost tour operated by a third-party company. The tour was exceedingly popular and required advance ticket purchase. As the tour guide narrated the hotel's eerie history and shared findings from paranormal research, we traveled through each floor, stopping at various points of interest. At one of these stops, a hallway intersection, I experienced what can only be described as odd. I repeatedly saw a figure appear and disappear from my peripheral vision. Now I've had my share of otherworldly experiences. Like any spirited traveler, I didn't let this unusual event faze me. We simply continued the tour. We ended the tour with an experiment using a ghost hunting tool, particularly illuminating the morgue area. This was followed by a short stint in a chilling room, which was surprisingly less spooky than I had anticipated. That night, I slept well. However, the following night, I was jolted awake by the sound of someone moaning in pain, as if right in the room with me. The terrifying encounter shook me, but I tried to stay logical about it. Yet, the sound was too intense and close, not something one could disregard as a distant noise. As a testament to how thrilled I was, I confess I didn't react the way I should have by documenting the experience. In my disoriented state, I woke my friend Alan, who simply shrugged off the incident and went back to sleep in a typical nonchalant fashion. As the noise receded towards the other room, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something out of the ordinary had occurred. All I can say is that my encounter at the Crescent Hotel was surreal, and it continues to send chills down my spine as I narrate it today. There is a hotel named the Crescent Hotel in Arkansas that has some incredibly strange vibes. It has the power to send spine-chilling shivers down anyone's skin. Then Morris, the charismatic head honcho of this mystical hotel, enters. Not too long ago, something extraordinarily sinister was uncovered. They stumbled upon bottles filled with human body parts, buried in the hotel's premises. Now that's uncannily odd. Numerous events have occurred within the dining room and the ballroom of this hotel named Crescent. These rooms have entertained more than 400 guests, including renowned dignitaries who attended a grand ceremony in the late 1800s. What a blast from the past. Now let's talk about the hotel's aesthetic. If examined closely, the walls are tinted a deep shade of purple, revealing the owner's passionate love for the color. As you cast your gaze astray, this purple theme extends everywhere, giving an illusion of an endless purple infinity. Narrating this might sound ludicrous, but when you walk down the grand hallways, it's as if you're in a scary movie. We ran into a friendly woman who guided the hotel's ghost tours during one such stroll. She had some intriguing stories to share about room 419. Her constant encounters with supernatural entities have led her to believe that this room is a hub for ghostly activity, mostly related to a spirit called Theodora. Her revelations left our hearts pounding. This hotel is not only rich in centuries of history, but also notorious for its hauntings. Stories of peculiar occurrences circulate around the hotel, from guests waking up to neatly folded clothes to items mysteriously moving around. Built in 1886, the Crescent Hotel wasn't just a hotel. It once stood proud as a hospital in the Ozarks. Norman Baker, a charismatic and brilliant man who initially started his career in theater as a magician, founded this hospital. He even owned a radio station that amassed a broad audience and a magazine named TNT. Baker claimed that he had a solution for cancer. However, he ran into significant legal troubles as he was practicing without a medical license. Nevertheless, his appealing persona drew hundreds of sick people desperate for a cure. The hotel even houses jars filled with human organs that were discovered as recently as 2019. The hotel staff came across these items, leading them back to Norman's practices in the 1930s. A seemingly nonchalant manager had come across the burial site where the jars were uncovered. As evening arrived, we retreated to our room. The hotel's silent hallways and its eerie atmosphere amplified the spookiness. Strange noises in the middle of the night gave us goosebumps, yet the comfy bed was a refuge. We even found a cat's tombstone dating back to the 1970s. The church in the backdrop added to the overall eeriness. During our stay, we had a ghost tour led by a man named Mr. Graves. He showcased Norman Baker's invention, which made him a millionaire, an air calliope. He also showed us the room where Baker operated on his patients, now filled with intense energy. We visited the morgue, too, where Mr. Graves spoke of the desperate people who came to Baker seeking a cure for cancer. He also showed us real jars from Baker's hospital days, and the cooler where bodies were stored. Norman Baker's deceit was eventually exposed. He was convicted of mail fraud, and after serving his sentence, he moved to Florida where he died from, ironically, cancer. Our 48-hour stay at this thrilling hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas was unnerving yet enthralling. We said our goodbyes, leaving behind the beautiful yet spooky Crescent Hotel, promising to return another day. My boyfriend and I set on a journey, but this wasn't a leisure trip. It was all about work. Our day was chock-a-block with tasks, and we traveled from one place to another to fix computers. Our last job was in Eureka Springs, and by the time we wrapped it up, we were as tired as you could be. We had decided that once we reached our room, we'd take a little snooze to recharge ourselves for an hour or so. As we entered our room, to the left of the door was a quaint, hip-high table. Now, my boyfriend has diabetes, so he carries with him a small, sturdy cooler that stores his medication that must be kept cool. As we prepared to take our much-needed break, I very carefully placed the cooler in the middle of the table. In our slumber, we were jolted awake approximately 40 minutes later by a terrifying sound. We found the cooler, which was supposed to be on the table, strewn upon the floor. But not just near the table, it was thrown to the opposite wall. There was even a scraped spot on the wall from the impact. It startled us, to say the least. Fortunately, his medication didn't cause a major incident. I distinctly remember placing the cooler securely in the center of the table because his life quite literally depended on it. Phew, thank God his medication has changed now and doesn't require as much cooling before. Following the bizarre incident, we took the ghost tour, indulged in some hearty meals at the restaurant, and even received a lovely caricature of the two of us dining. We also shared our eerie experience during the ghost tour. Not so long ago, just a year ago, my better half and I journeyed to this breathtaking location. Everything about this place was picture perfect. During our stay, 2 incidents stood out from the rest. We spent 2 nights in the hotel's room, known as the most haunted. Here's where things get intriguing. The first peculiar thing happened when I was alone in the room while my wife stepped out on the balcony to smoke. Like the harsh sound of a beast, a growl resonated from close by, no more distance than a couple feet away from me. Wouldn't you find it fascinating that the room's resident ghost was quite the charmer with the ladies when he had been alive? And this ghost had quite a playful sense of humor, too. Now let me share this with you. You see, I wear bifocal glasses all day, every day. I had taken a shower and placed my glasses on the sink counter. Once I was done, they seemed to have vanished into thin air. After wrestling with my memory and recalling what the staff had mentioned about the ghost's mischievous tendencies, I checked my luggage cheekily, Lo and behold, tucked away in a zipped compartment, there were my glasses. Just to clarify, my wife had nothing to do with this little trick. The second incident happened when we were on the balcony, the same one she had gone to for a smoke. It seemed like a quiet night, and all of a sudden, as if someone had turned up the volume of life itself, loud music was playing from all directions. We could hear people laughing, glasses clinking, and faint chatter. Yet it was just us two in that area. The sound ceased as soon as I went inside to grab our camera to capture this strange moment. We later learned that this phantom party phenomenon was not unusual at this hotel. Many other guests had experienced similar incidents. It was believed that the ghosts of the past were reliving their fun-filled moments in this haunted yet charming hotel. We felt lucky to have been a part of it, even if it was just for a brief moment. Sarah Eschel acts as a ghost tour guide at this eerie hotel, fully convinced of the hotel's supernatural claim to fame. Should you query whether the hotel is as haunted now as it was in yesteryears, Sarah would affirm, more than ever before. I believe when we reach out to spirits, we inadvertently invite them to linger. This might hinder their transition to the other side, but this happens because guests are fascinated by them, and the spirits seem to enjoy the attention, at least some of them. Guests at the hotel have reported numerous encounters with the paranormal, with one of the famous spirits being Michael. He was supposedly one of the masons responsible for the hotel's construction in 1885. Legend has it that while working on the roof, he lost his footing, fell, and met his untimely death. Now, his spirit occasionally reveals itself in room 218. Further, from the era when the hotel doubled as Baker's Cancer Hospital, a nurse is occasionally sighted pushing a gurney on the 3rd floor. A ghost known as Theodora can also be glimpsed in room 419, where she introduces herself as a cancer patient before abruptly disappearing. Most of the spirits are playful, at the very least. They simply desire to be recognized. Sarah commented about the spectral residents. They'll make loud noises or close doors, actions within their spectral abilities. They just employ whatever resources they possess. I felt dizzy, cold, and nauseous when I entered the morgue's ice box. I recorded a bright white orb while Sarah spoke about her previous encounters. Naturally, I asked Sarah to share her most chilling experience within the hotel's walls. Her response sent a cold shiver down my spine. The most frightening thing that happened to me was during my first tour here. What I saw when I magnified a photograph of a mirror on the 3rd floor was my youngest child. I could see my son's reflection in the mirror, along with 3 women beside him, and my husband whispering in his ear. I showed the photo to my husband, jokingly asking what our son was doing, and my husband responded with a serious tone, "Don't laugh, that's not me." Sarah concluded her story by mentioning a curious discovery. I had not a single photograph of that man from the tour. More intriguing was the subsequent photograph I took, referring to the picture she snapped immediately after, where the man was no longer present. My son was in the same position, the 3 women still standing in the exact spot. The only person missing was the man. Hence, Sarah's chilling experience only adds to the many mysterious occurrences at this haunted hotel. Even Sarah, who spends her days among them, is still amazed and frightened by their mischievous antics. There's a bunch of samples that we've kept in our little house of secrets for folks to peek at during their walkabouts. And oh boy, isn't it a thrill to try and figure out what's stashed in there, Sarah expressed with a twinkle in her eye. So the next time you're planning a stay at a hotel, consider doing some research on its history. You never know, you might just find yourself amid a real-life ghost story. Now if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Stanley Hotel, famously known for inspiring Stephen King's The Shining, is home to 142 rooms, each with its own haunted tales to tell. Yes, you heard that right. This massive, century-old hotel in the Colorado Rockies is a hotspot for supernatural events that tingle your spine. Story number 1. We had an interesting birthday celebration for my sister Patty at the Stanley Hotel, made famous by Stephen King's The Shining. Patty's pals, Connie and Donna, flew in from Madison to join us on this special day. My house in Boulder was our meeting spot before setting off with our suitcases and a spooky Ouija board. It was a crisp November afternoon, and it began to snow as we moved along the highway. I tried to temper expectations, assuring everyone that we probably wouldn't experience any paranormal occurrences. Patty simply responded that it would be fun to watch the night unfold. Upon reaching Estes Park, the site of the Stanley Hotel with the Rocky Mountains in the backdrop and its reflection in the serene lake was breathtaking and eerie. We parked and entered the 100-year-old Victorian hotel. Other groups were also in the lobby, and some had a giggle at our Ouija board. We also found out that some Ghostbusters were present. At the front desk, Connie and Donna were allocated rooms in a wing with lesser ghost activity. However, Patty and I chose the notorious 4th floor, known for ghostly happenings. With our digital cameras at the ready, we went on an intriguing haunted ghost tour. We also took a tour of the notorious Room 217, but noticed nothing strange. After a satisfying tour, we dressed up for dinner, where we kept an ear out for the piano, which was said to play by itself. We also chatted with some of the Ghostbusters on our floor, who dismissed our ghost sightings as sleep paralysis or electrical wiring. We decided to use the Ouija board in the hallway. Right when we were about to end the session, we felt a cold breeze and saw a door at the end of the hallway open and close on its own. This spooked Patty's friends, who decided to call it a night. Later that night, I was disturbed by the sounds of children running and screaming, and by a man who appeared to float over my bed. The next morning, I found my coat had been tampered with. Patty had also heard the children running, making the experience creepier. Connie and Donna, on the other hand, had a peaceful sleep. The blonde we met the previous evening also heard the ghostly children for the first time since her arrival. At checkout, I complained about the noise from what I thought was the Ghostbusters above us, only to be told there was no room above us. Overall, it was an unforgettable experience to remember Patty's birthday. 2 decades back, my ex-supervisor and I couldn't get enough of the intriguing history of the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. It's a noteworthy landmark in Colorado, and holds a special place in the hearts of ghost-chasing enthusiasts worldwide. The renowned author Stephen King is known to have stayed in the notorious Room 217 while writing The Shining, which is said to have been inspired by his experiences there. This has led to many spooky whispers and rumors surrounding the hotel, drawing people from far and wide who are eager to witness the unexplained mysteries themselves. In the autumn of 2002, in an unexpected turn of events, most rooms in the hotel were empty on the eve of Halloween, which fell on a weekday. My former boss and I, who had a few acquaintances there, proposed an idea to them. Could we spend the night not to sleep, but to have free reign of the hotel and broadcast live all night long? They accepted our proposal. The anticipation was palpable as we settled into Room 217, prepped for the exciting night ahead. We were curious. What would we witness? What sounds would we hear? We had heard tales of childish whispers in the old basement tunnel, which was probably once used for service or as a pathway for F.O. Stanley between the buildings. There were also stories of Wyndham Quinn, the Earl of Dunraven, eerily materializing in Room 401 at ungodly hours, the mysterious aroma of cigar smoke in the same room, and jewelry mysteriously shifting places overnight. There was a particularly spooky account of a woman fainting in the lobby after recognizing the face of the Earl from a painting, believing she had seen him in her room the night prior. We'd come across stories of unexplainable noises from the old bell tower and the eeriness of the renovated carriage house, which was avoided at night due to strange sounds and feelings experienced by people. We were thrilled at the prospect of documenting and experiencing all of this live on air. It would have been spectacular if we had caught some of these strange phenomena on camera or recorded them while broadcasting in the wee hours of the morning. But guess what eventually happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was no unusual sighting or sound except an unplanned alarm clock going off. We roamed around the entire hotel, unlocking every possible door leading to alleged haunted areas, but found nothing unusual. To this day, I'm not sure whether I believe in the existence of ghosts, or if the Stanley Hotel is indeed haunted. Some people claim it is, and I have no reason to disbelieve them. I suppose it's a matter of perspective. To see something is to believe it. Or perhaps in my case, it's the contrary, because I didn't witness anything out of the ordinary. Story number 3. Way back in 1994, we made a reservation at the Stanley Hotel, a notably beautiful structure. We were given a room with a distinct standout feature, a circular window in the bathroom. This window was clearly visible in the left corner of a picture of the hotel. Now, as a child, I had a dear companion, my baby doll, whom I carried with me practically everywhere I went. When we had to check out and fly back home, I realized that my beloved doll was not with me. We contacted the hotel staff to check for her in our room, but they initially reported they couldn't find her. Interestingly enough, the doll was later discovered in a housekeeping closet, and the staff claimed that they hadn't moved her. Sure, this made sense if you listened to a narrative from a housekeeper, but there's still a part of me that's curious. My mother has this habit, like a ritual. Before we leave any hotel room, she meticulously checks all around to ensure we haven't left anything behind. Given this, it was pretty bizarre how my doll ended up in that closet. Now, both my mom and I are open to the idea of the supernatural, but we're not the type to believe everything at face value. I'm certain she wouldn't have simply concluded that the alleged spirits haunting the hotel were responsible for this. That being said, I have decided that one day in the future, I'll revisit the hotel as an adult, maintaining a skeptical stance. I reckon it'll be an interesting experience digging into this wonderful establishment's mysterious, possibly paranormal past. Story number 4. Heads up, this is a bit of a long read, but I assure you it's an enthralling tale. During summer, my girlfriend and I decided to tick off a stay at the Stanley Hotel from our bucket list. Just so you know, supposedly, every room on the 4th floor where we lodged for 4 nights is haunted. As we began our adventure, eerie experiences seemed to occur immediately. On our first elevator ride, we both heard a soft whisper. Later, after a delightful night at a local bar called the Wheel Bar, we returned to the hotel and I snapped a few photos of the spectacularly lit lobby. I discovered something peculiar in one image, something somewhat resembling a child. During our stay, we experienced various odd occurrences, such as my phone vibrating on my stomach without any notification, my girlfriend feeling a hand on her back after showering, and the constant sound of footsteps in the attic above our room throughout the night. On one of the nights, we met another couple who were also hunting for paranormal signs. Interestingly enough, they were staying in room 217, the very room that inspired Stephen King to write The Shining. We had a friendly interaction with them, which led to an EVP session in their room where an unidentified voice answered our question with a no. We also had an EMF detector with us, a tool provided by the hotel for those staying on the 4th floor. We asked it questions, receiving affirmative responses when we inquired if we were speaking to a child, specifically a little girl. When asked if she liked games, the meter went crazy, peaking when I asked about the game of tag, and bolting down the hallway. The moment I took off, according to my girlfriend and other onlookers, the meter readings dropped dramatically, and all activity ceased. Here are the links to the pictures of the lobby. One of them bears an unusual anomaly. I've brightened them and shared screenshots for better visibility. Story number 5. Some guests have referenced room 401 as the eeriest room in the entire hotel, with reports of an unwelcoming spectral gentleman inhabiting it. A handful of women have reported some unsettling instances where they've felt as though they were being touched in an inappropriate manner by a mysterious entity, particularly when they stood within the room's closet. Similarly, an intriguing tale comes from a gentleman who swears to witness his marriage band mysteriously glide off the bathroom countertop and tumble down into the sink drain inexplicably. Story number 6. Moving on to room 428. Guests have reported sightings of a cowboy's ghost appearing to tower over them as they slumber, or just ominously stand lurking in the corner. Interestingly, there are no rooms directly above this one, yet through the years, there have been numerous accounts of inexplicable phenomena, like the sound of furniture being shuffled or footsteps echoing from the ceiling overhead. The Stanley Hotel, paranormal activities aside, is a magnificent, intriguing location to visit. However, its reputation for the uncanny has drawn in curious guests from all across the globe to potentially experience a haunting incident that could be both profound and mystifying in nature. Story number 7. Several years back, I found myself as a guest at a wedding hosted on the premises where I was staying. The main hotel didn't stir up any unusual activity, but the reception building was a totally different story. It seemed to teem with supernatural activity. During our exploration of the building, a fellow groomsman and I encountered what I can only describe as unusual, peculiarly cold spots, and distinct sounds of footsteps aligned to our own, though we were the only ones around. However, the most spine-chilling moment came just moments before the service was about to start. Accompanied by the groom's father, we made a quick stop at the restroom, which was also housed within the reception building. As we took our places a distance apart at the urinals, we were the only living beings present, or so we thought. Out of the blue, one of the faucets behind us burst into action with water gushing out. Startled, we exchanged glances, only to turn back around and witness the faucets on the second sink joining in the inexplicable act. Thankfully, the groom's father had a good sense of humor and chalked it up to the spirit of a mischievous child. Needless to say, we were glad to leave that building after the wedding concluded. One of the most famous hauntings at the Stanley Hotel is that of Elizabeth Wilson, a former head housekeeper who worked at the hotel in the early 1900s. She was known for her strict demeanor and always wore a long blue dress to signify her position. Guests have reported seeing an apparition wearing a long blue dress wandering around the main staircase in the concert hall. Some have even claimed to feel her presence and hear her voice, scolding them for being too loud or messing up the rooms. One couple even reported waking up in the middle of the night to find a woman in a long blue dress standing at the foot of their bed, only for her to disappear before their eyes. They later discovered that their room was once Elizabeth Wilson's office, adding to the creepy factor of the experience. One day, while exploring the hotel, we stumbled upon a portrait of Elizabeth Wilson and were surprised to see that it completely matched the description given by previous guests. Story number 9. Set in Estes Park, Colorado, the Stanley Hotel is a historical gem built back in 1908 by its namesake, Freeland Oscar Stanley. Visitors often flock to the Stanley Hotel for its guided tours, which includes an intriguing night tour. However, this particular after-dark excursion isn't open to children, given the hotel's renowned haunted reputation. One of the most talked-about hotspots within the hotel is room 217. This room is particularly infamous for some alleged paranormal activity, with stories swirling around about a ghost named Mrs. Elizabeth Wilson, who is said to continue her care for guests from beyond the grave. A documentary team, spearheaded by Shelby Doria, had made a trip to the hotel to gather evidence of these alleged supernatural occurrences. The crew found themselves encountering various odd experiences, from doors mysteriously shaking to the inexplicable movement of objects. These disturbing encounters led them to seriously entertain the idea that the Stanley Hotel is truly haunted. While there was initially some disbelief within the team, each member eventually couldn't help but remain open to the existence of spectral entities, especially intrigued by the eerie experiences they had during their stay. So that's a wrap. If you liked these true haunted stories from the Stanley Hotel, subscribe to the channel and like this video. Let us know in the comments if you have ever visited the Stanley Hotel and had any paranormal experiences. Did you know that some humor can often be the best disguise for fear? Today we are going to share some outrageous tales from the world-famous Clown Motel. The Clown Motel, sitting snug in Nevada, has been the epicenter of many spine-chilling encounters. When you step in, you're greeted with 1,000 grinning faces, creepy clown dolls of all shapes and sizes, watching your every move. Let's get into it. History of the Clown Motel. Back in the day, specifically in April 2019, a fresh idea came to life for a place known as America's most frightening motel. The man behind this, Vijay Mehar, thought of this exciting new project. Mehar was no stranger to the hotel business and had heaps of quality experience under his belt. This place is the world-famous Clown Motel, and it has become more than just a unique spot on the globe. Now let's be clear, this isn't your average motel. It's constantly changing and growing every day, and it's captured the attention of a wide variety of people. So who might you find at this Clown Motel? It's the #1 pick for all those brave ghost hunters. In addition, the paranormal investigators are always thrilled by the mysterious. But it's not just for these fearless explorers. It's also a haven for those who simply love a good scare. In fact, people who get a kick out of spooky fun regularly make a beeline for this place. Plus, you know those YouTubers whose channels are all about the chilling and the creepy? They're attracted to the Clown Motel like ants to sugar. And don't forget the horror filmmakers. They can't resist the spine-tingling, hair-raising vibes of this place. Oh, and let's not leave out the clown lovers. For them, this motel is practically a pilgrimage. But it's not just the clowns or the eerie atmosphere that draws people in. It's also the history behind it all. The Clown Motel was actually built on what used to be an old cemetery for miners who had passed away during a plague. This adds a whole new level of spookiness to the place, as many guests have reported seeing ghosts and experiencing strange occurrences during their stay. But the history of the Clown Motel doesn't stop there. It was also a popular spot for travelers passing through on their way to Tonopah, Nevada during the Silver Rush in the early 1900s. Many believe that some of these travelers never left, and their spirits still roam the motel to this day. With a history like that, it's no surprise that there may have been many spooky encounters at the Clown Motel. From strange noises in the night to unexplained footsteps and objects moving on their own, guests have reported a wide range of paranormal activity during their stay. Now, let's discover some true horror stories from those brave enough to stay at the Clown Motel. Room 108 in the motel that is known for its paranormal activities. Imagine walking in and hearing vague, indistinguishable voices with no one in sight, or finding your belongings mysteriously moved or even disappeared. All these peculiar happenings are believed to be the handiwork of a ghost, lovingly referred to as the Trickster. This ghost, it's been said, hails from the nearby cemetery and assumes the guise of a jolly, mischievous clown as he interacts with the guests at the motel. One guest tells a story of waking up in the middle of the night to find a clown standing at the foot of their bed, only to disappear when they turned on the light. Another guest shares how they woke up to find their suitcase completely unpacked and neatly folded clothes laid out on the bed. The Trickster is known for playing pranks on guests, but some claim that he has also been known to protect them from harm. One guest reported feeling a presence in their room and, upon checking the security footage, found a clown figure standing outside their door during the night. He even reportedly appeared in a photo taken by a guest, giving the term photobomb a whole new meaning. Once upon a time, there was a housekeeper named Andrea Selig at the Clown Motel. She used to share tales of her experiences, saying she often faced a high level of anxiety in every room of the motel. How intriguing! She even claimed to witness doors closing all by themselves. The Clown Motel, world-renowned and steeped in history, has not always been the same. Founded by Leona and Leroy Clarence in 1985, the motel eventually changed ownership. In a mysterious twist, Bob and Deborah Perchetti bought the motel in 1995. What's startling about this transaction is that the deal was supposedly sealed on nothing more than a restaurant napkin. Fast forward to 2019, the Clown Motel caught the eye of its present owner, Hame Anand. I must admit, it frightened me a tiny bit at the beginning, disclosed Anand in a feature by Thrillist. Find it hard to believe? Well, I couldn't even sleep in my own room. Anand has harbored a unique fascination with clowns since his exciting circus visit when he was 14 years old. With the Clown Motel in his personal collection now, Anand generously added about 200 of his own clown figurines to the existing family of 800 at the motel. Though initially scared, Anand later brushed off his fears, believing that the so-called ghostly inhabitants of the motel carry no malice. Even after guests have reported mysteriously self-closing doors, unexplained whispers, and his own uncanny experience of hearing noises from vacant rooms, Anand is undeterred. He confidently says, "This is how they let me know. We are here, but you need not fear." She has lived through generations of travelers and miners, survived multiple ownership changes, and even appeared in movies like Clown Motel, Spirits Arise. The Clown Motel is not just a place to spend the night. It's an experience that will leave you with shivers down your spine. Imagine stepping into a room that would instantly trigger a feeling of extreme discomfort in a bone-chilling manner. That's exactly how I felt when I entered that room in the Clown Motel. Trust me when I say this, I was not exaggerating. My lifelong phobia of clowns originated from a youthful encounter with the frightening film It. And to this day, I can't help but be wary of drains when strolling at night. The thought of a creepy clown suddenly emerging always haunts me. And to make matters worse, I have an unnerving anticipation of spotting a clown each time I go to pick up the bed linens. Gives me shivers just thinking about it. You might assume that the sheer terror of the Clown Motel lies solely in its clown theme, but there's more to it. There's a spooky twist that makes it even scarier. The motel is located in Tonopah, a historical mining town from the Wild West era. In 1901, a graveyard was established, and you won't believe where. Right where the Clown Motel is now situated. Gravestones line up next to the motel, marking the resting places of those who met all kinds of grim fates, from plague victims to unfortunate souls shot from behind by resentful significant others. I started hearing odd noises at night, like someone whispering my name or tapping on the walls. But when I checked, no one else was in the room with me. I even found strange red handprints appearing on my bathroom mirror every morning, despite cleaning it thoroughly before bed. And then there were the clowns. They seemed to follow me everywhere, in my dreams, on the television, even hidden behind curtains. During the sunny summer of 2017, an exciting idea popped up in my mind. Along with a chum from my high school days, I decided to set off on a memorable road excursion. We planned to make a few pit stops along the path, but there was one main point of interest, one genuinely peculiar place on our schedule: the striking Clown Motel in Tonopah, Nevada. Now, some of you might be scratching your heads, wondering why we would ever choose to stay at a motel filled with clowns. To tell you the truth, until a few years prior, I wasn't even aware such a place existed. My acquaintance with the Clown Motel came thanks to a trending meme on the internet featuring this curious location. I've always had a penchant for eerily charming places, but the common fear of clowns never made much sense. So, flirting with our adventurous spirits, my buddy and I packed our bags. I headed off to this unusual motel to see if it was as thrilling as they said. As our car slipped into the parking space, my eyes began an eager scan of the surrounding landscape. There it was, the motel, standing exactly as it had in the photos, cheek by jowl with a graveyard. The parking area was sparsely populated. The few vehicles present seemed to veer away from the office building, its door strangely adorned with a closed sign. A slight twinge of unease started to bubble within me. Had they forgotten about our arrival, or had an unexpected event pulled away the staffer who was supposed to be on duty? My curiosity drew me closer to the office door, where I noticed something peculiar. A piece of paper, seemingly ordinary, was taped to the door, and there, sketched in pencil, was my name. I peeled off the paper and opened it to find an explanation. The office would come back to life at 4:30 p.m., a whole hour and a half away considering our 3 p.m. arrival. The office would come back to life at 4:30 p.m., a whole hour and a half away considering our 3 p.m. arrival. Interestingly, they had placed my room key and the room number under the welcome mat where I stood. I bent to lift the mat, and sure enough, there they were, a bona fide metal key, a relic I hadn't seen in a motel since my travels in the early 90s, along with the room number. Meeting a painted clown at the entrance as I fumbled with the door key was our initial greeting. With a bit of a struggle, the door finally gave in, and our adventure began. A couple of clown portraits were hanging above our beds, but outdated is the only appropriate word I can think of to describe our initial view. A handful of equipment scattered around the room must have been at least 15 years old. The furniture was noticeably worn, and an old smell wafted through the room. My buddy immediately began inspecting the room, worried that a clown might just leap out at any minute. Written by Joel Terranova and published on August 17, 2017, 7 years ago. While I can't confirm that the Clown Motel is a hotspot for homicidal clowns, there was certainly an eerie feeling about it. After emptying our car, our next plan was to hang tight for the office to open again at 4:30. This place was the home of all the clown dolls that we were quite excited to see. Meanwhile, we spent our time in the room, thinking about what to do next. At this point in our adventure, we had been on the road for 7 days, and were starting to miss home. We were thinking about spending the night in the Clown Motel. If we chose to leave after visiting the office, we could drive to another inn near the border of Arizona for a little while. This would save us 4 hours on our journey back home. We had reached the Clown Motel, looked at it in person, and snapped lots of photos. At that point, we decided not to stay overnight, a choice that I feel bad about even now. 4:30 p.m. finally came, and we made our way to the Clown Motel office. The closed sign was no longer there, and we smoothly walked in. What lay before our eyes was a common motel office packed with hundreds of clown dolls. They differed in size and expressions. There was even one of Ronald McDonald. Besides us, 3 men were in the room, a young man who remained silent and 2 older men. Among the 2, one was Bob Perchetti, the owner, who turned out to be a very nice man. Mr. Perchetti asked us straight away if we were ghost hunters. We told him we weren't. As per him, Paranormal investigators often visit the Clown Motel. We chatted about different things and paid for our room. Then Mr. Perchetti showed us the items on sale. Mugs with the Clown Motel logo, red clown noses, t-shirts, and more. As it turned out, the office was also a gift shop. I didn't want to go home empty-handed, so I bought a mug and a few clown noses as gifts. But what I really wanted was a doll. When I asked him if I could buy one, he said no initially, but then remembered he had a few for sale. I found one I liked immediately. A circus clown in blue with a slightly loose head, which I fondly named Loppy Head. I was overjoyed when I bought it. We bid farewell to Mr. Perchetti and the clowns and left Tonopah shortly. I can't promise you that the Clown Motel is full of killer clowns, but it had something that felt weird. I'm happy that I visited it, but I don't wish to go back there, even though I wish I had stayed the night. Maybe if I was around, but I honestly can't see myself in such a situation again. As we drove away from the Clown Motel, my mind was filled with questions. Who were those men in the office? Were they just employees, or did they have a deeper connection to the motel? And what about Mr. Perchetti, the friendly owner with an eerie collection of clown dolls? I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to this place than just a quirky motel. Perhaps it was the graveyard right next door, or the closed office with a handwritten note on the door. Whatever it may be, one thing is for sure. Our visit to the Clown Motel will always be a memorable and slightly unsettling experience. As we continued our journey home, I couldn't help but wonder about other strange and unusual places we may encounter on our travels. These were just a few examples of the strange and unusual places that can be found all around the world, like this Clown Motel. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content. And why not share your own experiences with strange and unusual places? We would love to hear about it in the comments below. Built in 1886 by cattle baron Colonel Jesse, the Driskall Hotel has been a gathering place for high society gatherings, political events, and a wide range of guests, from VIPs to ordinary folks. But here's the part that gets interesting, particularly if you have a knack for the eerie and unexplainable. The Driskall is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in all of Texas. Now, ghost stories and old hotels go together like apple pie and vanilla ice cream, and the Driskall has its share of spine-chilling tales. With its rich history and haunted happenings, it attracts both ghost hunters and skeptics alike. Story number one begins with when a young bride-to-be finds herself in an unfortunate situation. During the early whispers of the 90s, she was looking forward to the happiest time of her life, but sadly, her fiancé shattered her dreams, leaving her with a broken heart. In an act of rebellion and a bit of mischief, the wounded bride took her ex-fiancé's credit card and set her sights on Austin. She sought refuge in the grand old Driskall Hotel, radiating with history and luxury. She turned her heartache into an extravagant shopping spree, her pain being momentarily forgotten with each card swipe. Laden down with an armful of shopping bags, the last sight of her was, somewhat poetically, a lonely figure disappearing down the hotel's opulent corridor. The story took a tragic turn, however, as 2 days later, she was found lifeless in her room. Fast forward a little to the latter part of the 90s. The Driskall was undergoing a revitalizing facelift, its historic charm being groomed and polished for a fresh lease of life. Two women, eager for a taste of the Driskall's history, requested a stay in the legendary fourth-floor historic wing. Their hopes were dashed, though, as they were assigned regular rooms elsewhere. Having asked about the inconveniences they might face due to the renovations, one candidly expressed it was no big deal, and casually retreated to her sanctuary, her room. However, the very next day brought a wave of slight discontent among the women. Their dissatisfaction stemmed from the fact that someone had actually been granted a room in the much-coveted historic wing after all. Intrigued, they sought answers from the desk manager. Being a man of action, the manager didn't just provide them with a verbal response. Instead, he decided to bring the matter to a close by doing something much more dramatic. He led them through the maze of the inn, guiding them all the way to the fourth floor. Never once did he falter, walking with the purpose of a man on a mission. They halted in front of that room. the subject of their collective consternation. A twist of the key, and the door creaked open. The manager stepped aside to let them see for themselves. To their surprise, it was devoid of any occupant. The room was dominated by construction materials, scattered tools, and unfinished work. It had an air of abandonment, untouched by any guest. As it turned out, there hadn't been anyone staying there the previous night after all. And this is where the story takes a dark turn. The thing that sent chills down everyone's spine was what happened next. As they stood, trying to wrap their minds around what just took place, one of the women spotted something utterly inexplicable. 2 suitcases with an armful of shopping bags, positioned upright against a wall in the corner. The manager called it a prank, but both women knew that wasn't the case. Someone, or something, had been there with them in that room, observing them from beyond the veil. Story number 2. The next story is a bit of a morbid one. Let me tell you about this one time when I had a rather unnerving experience. So I was staying at this cozy Driskall Hotel in Austin for some days. A whimsical fancy struck us on our last day, and we thought, hey, why not one more day in Reno? We set out, only to find that our hotel was fully booked. A little heartbroken, we moved around and finally landed at Motel 8, not really caring about the place. Our plan was simple: explore the town some more, come back, catch some sleep, and head out early the next day. Something strange happened as we moved into the motel in the early evening. I felt an odd sensation, a chill running down my spine. Quite abnormal, I must say. Having worked in the hospitality industry, I was no stranger to hotels. Upon entering our room, I was greeted by an unusually strong and icy gust of air emanating from above the door. I brushed it off, thinking it might be one of those bug blowers in stores. Thinking it was odd for a hotel room, I put my stuff on the bed. Following me in, my girlfriend sat down on the other bed, looking a bit unsettled. In less than 10 seconds, she blurted out, "I can't stay here, this room is freaking me out." I asked her, "Why? What happened?" She replied, "I don't know, but something's off." I too had sensed that eerie feeling. I looked towards the closet and the bathroom, pitch dark and foreboding, with no interest in investigating further. Keen to figure out what had caused that unexpected gust of air, I looked above the door, but there was nothing there. Grabbing our stuff, I said, "Let's get out of here." That was the first time a room had truly spooked me. We quickly retreated to the front desk to check out, and strange enough, the clerk didn't even ask why. We received our refund, no questions asked. I couldn't help but wonder, was he aware of the creepy atmosphere? Or, a scary thought occurred later, was someone hiding in our room, waiting to scare unsuspecting guests? I still can't describe that overpowering urge, an instinct, telling me to flee not just the room, but the entire establishment. On discussing the incident later, my girlfriend confessed she hadn't felt the gust of wind, but had felt terrified the moment she stepped into the room, a feeling that amplified within seconds. Sadly, I don't have an ending to this peculiar tale. I didn't stay long enough to find out what was wrong, but there's one thing I can tell you. Something ominous was definitely lurking in that room that day, be it an ill-intentioned person or unfriendly spirits. By leaving at once, I believe we successfully dodged an unpleasant situation. To this day, I wonder what secrets this hotel holds within its walls. Maybe it was coincidence, or maybe something more sinister was at play. We'll never know. All we can do is speculate and wonder about the mysteries of that fateful night in Reno. Our final story takes us back to the iconic Driskall Hotel. This time, it involves a group of friends who decided to stay at the hotel during their trip to Austin. Little did they know, their stay would turn into a spine-tingling experience. As they checked in and made their way to their room, one of the friends noticed a peculiar painting on the wall. It was an old portrait of a woman with piercing blue eyes, staring right at them. Despite feeling slightly uneasy, they shrugged it off as just another piece of eccentric hotel decor. As they were getting ready for bed that night, a loud banging noise echoed through the room. They searched for the source, but found nothing. The next morning, they spoke to the hotel staff, who informed them that there had been no other complaints about such noises. The second night, things took a turn for the worse. As one of the friends was dozing off, she suddenly jolted awake to find the portrait of the woman in her room. Terrified, she blinked and rubbed her eyes, but when she opened them again, the painting was back on the wall where it belonged. The group quickly checked out the next morning, too unnerved to stay any longer, but as they were leaving, one of them caught a glimpse of the woman in the painting, now standing in a different position with an eerie smile on her face. Needless to say, they never returned to the Driskall Hotel again. To this day, they still wonder about the identity of that mysterious woman and what she wanted from them. These are just a few stories from the countless haunted hotels and motels around the world. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying the creepy and unexplainable experiences that have been reported by guests and staff alike. Story number 4. Once upon a time, in 2004, my partner and I found ourselves drawn to the Driskall Hotel in Austin, Texas. This hotel has a notorious reputation for ghostly disturbances, so if you're not familiar with its eerie past, I recommend a quick Google search. Our adventure started on a casual Sunday afternoon. After making our reservations, we decided to dive into our foodie instincts, treating ourselves to a delightful meal before checking into our hotel room. Our accommodations were in the lavender room, a uniquely peculiar space with a cold bathroom that led to a locked hallway. The room was standard with the usual amenities: TV, bed, chairs, and a grand armoire. On the bed's right were pocket doors that opened into a dining room with a large window. From this vantage point, you could see the main entrance. Inside the bedroom, another locked door opened to the hallway. As the evening rolled in, it was time to wind down and remove my jewelry. Among the pieces was an old, delicate necklace approximately 18 inches long. Fearing that my suitcase would get damaged, I placed it gingerly next to my purse on the dining table. We spent the rest of the evening reading, watching some TV, and then tried to drift off to sleep. Sleep, however, was out of the question for me. The infamous Highway 55 right next to the hotel was busier than a beehive, making my attempts to sleep futile. My other half, a structural civil engineer, was sound asleep. Of course, he had come prepared with earplugs. All the while, I felt odd, like we were not alone, as if someone or something was curiously observing us. We had neighbors, another young couple who had settled in the room across the hall. We had seen them earlier while exploring the property. The bar was the only off-limits area. It had been about 4 hours since we had bid our goodnights. It was just the 4 of us in the mansion, or so we thought. My sleep eluded me, and so I decided to do some reading. Just as I was getting engrossed in my book, I heard what sounded like loud boots storming up the staircase merely 6 feet from our central doorway. My heart pounded because, logically, we were the only conscious people in the mansion. Fear of a burglar or worse crossed my mind. The boots stopped right at our door, followed by furious pounding. The door vibrated with every pound, but my husband remained oblivious in his slumber. The young couple across from us was also silent. I was terrified. I opened the door eagerly to confront whoever was causing the ruckus, but there was no one in sight. I scanned the dimly lit hallway and staircase, but there was nobody. The following morning brought a creepy surprise. I found my necklace missing from the dining table, replaced by a small velvet coin purse inside my bag. On opening it, I found my necklace carefully tucked inside with no signs of damage. And, oddly, the coins the purse contained were missing too. This spooky incident sealed my belief in the existence of ghosts. Another spooky incident was the recording I had left overnight on a voice-activated tape recorder. Instead of the anticipated pounding, all I heard were dogs barking furiously. Considering the hotel's location, surrounded by an old brewery and almost non-existent neighborhood, it seemed impossible for any dogs to be close enough to be heard on the tape. My husband, oblivious to the entire night's events, attributed the pounding, missing necklace, and barking to possible structural sounds, heating malfunctions, someone walking their dogs, or my imagination. I was not surprised by his skepticism, it was expected. And so concluded our eerie journey in the Driskall Hotel. Believe it or not, it was an experience neither of us would ever forget. Story number 5. One particular room at the Driskall Hotel, room 525, is said to be the most haunted room on the entire property. It is believed that a bride took her life in that room on her wedding night after being jilted at the altar. Guests who have stayed in room 525 report hearing strange noises, feeling cold spots, and even seeing apparitions of a woman dressed in a white gown. The staff has also reported unusual activity in this room, with items moving on their own and the feeling of being watched. However, perhaps the most chilling encounter in room 525 happened to a young couple who decided to stay there for their honeymoon. During their first night, they were awoken by a loud noise coming from inside the room. Upon investigation, they found that all of their belongings had been thrown around the room, as if someone had ransacked it. Feeling uneasy, the couple decided to check out and request a different room. As they were leaving, they noticed that their camera, which was previously on the dresser, had been moved to the bed, with a photo of them sleeping together on it. They never returned to room 525 again. But it is said that the ghost of the bride continues to haunt this room, still waiting for her groom to show up on their wedding night. Many believe that her spirit is trapped in the hotel, unable to move on from her tragic fate, and the staff at the Driskall Hotel honors her memory by leaving a rose in room 525 every day. So next time you check into a hotel, look for strange occurrences or eerie feelings. Who knows what secrets the walls may hold? And if you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spooky content. Hotels are meant to be places of comfort and relaxation, where weary travelers can rest their heads after a long day. However, not all hotels are as welcoming as they seem. The Mizpah Hotel in Tonopah, Nevada is one such place that has gained notoriety for its terrifying encounters and paranormal activity. Located in the heart of the town, the Mizpah Hotel was first built in 1907 by two wealthy businessmen who saw potential in the growing mining industry. It quickly became a popular spot for miners and travelers passing through. However, it wasn't until many years later that the hotel's dark secrets started to surface. So let's explore some of the true horror stories that have taken place within the walls of the Mizpah Hotel. Before jumping to the haunted stories, let's discover the history of this hotel. Before the historic hotel was even built, the Mizpah Saloon had already served customers since 1907. George Wingfield, Cal Brower, George Nixon, and Bob Govin, all finance experts in Nevada, supplied the funds necessary for the hotel's construction. And guess what? The brilliant architectural mind of George Holdsworth from Reno conjured up the hotel. Not only did this financiers back the hotel, but they also invested in various other businesses and mining companies in Tonopah. The hotel's distinctive design included a stone facade adorning its sides and rear. The Brower-Govin block, which served as the original Mizpah Hotel, is still linked to the hotel. The buildings are interconnected via a wooden staircase, and proudly, the hotel was the first in Tonopah to have an elevator. Interesting tidbits revolve around the Mizpah Hotel. Legend says that Wyatt Earp ran the Mizpah Saloon, Jack Dempsey safeguarded the premises, and Hollywood mogul Howard Hughes married Jean Peters here. What a whirlwind of events. Albeit, some argue that the timeline doesn't quite match up with the lives of these individuals, you can still find a Jack Dempsey room and a Wyatt Earp bar at the hotel. The Mizpah's ownership changed over time, with its last owner being Frank Scott from Las Vegas, who bought it in 1979. Scott pumped modern amenities into the hotel, while simultaneously keeping its vintage charm intact, something that initially attracted him and his guests to the place. The renovation was hefty, costing $4 million, and took 2.5 years to wrap up. The hotel went through a period of dormancy post-1999. It was closed and silent, and it was visited only by ghosts rumored to inhabit the Mizpah. However, the silence broke in 2011 when Fred and Nancy Klein of Klein Cellars in Sonoma took over, renovating and reopening it to the public in August of the same year. The hotel now offers 47 rooms, a bar, and 2 eating joints, and there's even a casino on the cards. Nowadays, guests pour in from all corners of Nevada to visit the area, with ghost hunters hoping to encounter the peculiar essence of the Clown Motel and Tonopah Cemetery. Among the more fascinating features is that the hotel is said to be inhabited by the Lady in Red and other mysterious entities. According to legend, this woman was a prostitute who was brutally murdered by a jealous lover in room 502. Her spirit is said to roam the halls and rooms of the hotel, especially room 502, where guests have reported strange occurrences such as feelings of being watched, objects moving on their own, and even physical encounters with an unknown entity. But it's not just room 502 that has seen paranormal activity. Guests have also reported seeing a woman in a red dress wandering in the hallways and disappearing into thin air. Strange noises and voices coming from empty rooms, and ghostly apparitions in various parts of the hotel. Some guests have even claimed to have seen the spirit of a former miner named William Red Roberts, who died in an accident while working at a nearby mine. He is said to haunt the elevator area and has been known to interact with guests by pressing buttons for their designated floor. The Mizpah Hotel also offers ghost tours, during which visitors can hear more chilling stories about its haunted past and try to communicate with any spirits that may be present. Now, let's dive into some of the haunting happenings that have made the Mizpah Hotel infamous. Let me begin by saying that I don't really subscribe to the idea of supernatural entities. Ghosts, otherworldly creatures, and phantom figures don't rattle me. Therefore, when our car approached the majestic Mizpah, amidst the delicate snowflakes brushing against our dancing windshield wipers, my main worry was about not slipping and falling in the icy parking lot, rather than fretting about eerie beings from an unseen world. My family, my lovely wife Amber, our 2 wonderful daughters and a son, along with Amber's faithful service dog Merlin, all hail from the desert land of Las Vegas, so the snowfall was quite a novel experience for us. However, thanks to the considerate folks at the Mizpah, who had the foresight to salt their parking lot, we managed to bring our crew and luggage inside without any hiccups. Just to put things into perspective, the dignified Mizpah is a piece of history nestled in the heart of Tonopah, Nevada. The hotel first opened its doors to patrons in 1907, riding the wave of the silver boom. Unfortunately, post-Silver Rush, the hotel saw a steady decline, falling into a state of neglect due to lack of use. The beautiful Mizpah was finally compelled to close its doors around the turn of the millennium in 1999 or 2000. However, in 2011, the Mizpah Hotel reopened after undergoing a major renovation. It was during this time that the hotel's supernatural stories started to surface. Former employees and guests began sharing their paranormal experiences, from strange noises and cold spots to full-blown apparitions. One particularly terrifying story involves a young woman who stayed in room 502 of the Mizpah Hotel. She reported feeling a presence in her room every night and waking up to find her belongings moved or missed. One morning, she found scratch marks on her back, as if someone had dragged their nails over her skin. The woman checked out immediately and refused to ever step foot in the hotel again. However, perhaps one of the most well-known and chilling stories from the Mizpah Hotel involves a couple staying in room 502 during a mining convention. One night, they were awoken by loud noises coming from their bathroom. When they went to investigate, they found that all of the furniture had been rearranged and placed upside down in the bathroom. They immediately left the hotel and never returned. There was also a report of a ghostly figure, believed to be the spirit of a former housekeeper, appearing in the hallways and disappearing through the walls. Guests have also reported hearing disembodied voices whispering their names. It's not just guests who have had eerie experiences at the Mizpah Hotel. Former employees have shared stories of items being moved or thrown by unseen forces, doors opening and closing on their own, and even having their hair pulled while working alone in certain areas of the hotel. A couple of years back, during a journey through Nevada's wilderness, we made a pit stop at the Mizpah Hotel in Tonopah. We sneakily peeked inside from a side door. Rumors of a ghostly lady in red lingering on the 5th floor have circulated, and we heard about it. The lady's story varies from her being a lady of the night killed in anger to a performer who collapsed on stage and never woke up. Eerie stories of 2 minor ghosts who haunt the building's basement also swirled. We stood outside the closed hotel that day, stealing glances from any possible slits, especially towards the 5th floor and the unique sign on top. We yearned to explore inside, but the opportunity didn't present itself. Despite reaching out to the real estate agent managing the property, we couldn't get approval to enter. Jumping ahead 2 years, we returned to Tonopah for a special event before the hotel's grand reopening. This time, we were invited guests. Now we could saunter about the entire hotel, a big contrast from our first visit, and we were thrilled. This event was courtesy of Virginia Ridgway and author Janice Oberding, and supported by the new hotel owners, Fred and Nancy Klein. The guest list included paranormal and history buffs from all over. We were handed keys to our hotel rooms upon reaching our hotel, and thus our exciting weekend began. We had ample time to wander around in daylight and after dark. Staff shared spine-chilling encounters with the supernatural, like a ghostly little girl being sighted in the elevator. Our curiosity led us to primarily the 5th floor and basement. Some intriguing happenings took place in the basement. An investigator felt an indescribable force charging at him, followed by an unaccountable whisper. An incident occurred where a medium communicated with spirits when the elevator started moving on its own. None of us had pressed any buttons. We also took part in an official paranormal investigation set up by Ridgway. Several guests equipped with meter readers and cameras listened to unexplained knocking sounds near room 502. We asked questions like, "Are you male? Are you female? Will you knock once for yes and twice for no?" Throughout this guessing game, we heard other knocks nearby, but not from the room we were trying to communicate with. This experience left us spellbound and opened our minds to the possibility of the paranormal. We ventured to an annex building on the hotel grounds during our stay. Previously a bowling alley and a pub, it was no stranger to ghostly happenings. A worker narrated a colleague's experience of untraceable sounds from the basement at night, and an invisible force pushing him, which led him to quit. We explored the basement, at times thinking we heard childlike voices. On rethinking, we attributed the sounds to the street noise, but it was in the upstairs pub that we experienced our own eerie encounter. As we walked around taking pictures, one of us saw a shadowy figure out of the corner of our eye. Initially brushing it off as a trick of the mind, we continued exploring. But then, we saw something move again. This time, all 3 of us saw it. We called out, thinking someone had entered the room, but no one responded. Suddenly, an intense cold enveloped us, and we heard footsteps approaching us. Terrified, we ran back to our group, which was waiting for us downstairs. After regaining our composure, we asked if anyone had followed us up, or heard footsteps. To our shock, everyone in the group claimed to have heard and seen unexplainable things throughout the night. This confirmed our belief that the Mizpah Hotel is indeed haunted by restless spirits. A writer from vvdailypress.com decided to visit Mizpah and had his heart set on the Lady in Red room. Unfortunately, he was told it was booked out for a year. Yes, it's that popular. Early the next morning, he snuck into room 504 just for some photos. It was barely 6 a.m. He took the photos, but things got a little weird afterward. His screen turned blue after just a few seconds of viewing them. He also shot a wee video. And guess what? There was a mysterious green rug-like thing at the bottom of the door, and a loud crash could be heard that he didn't register while recording. Now don't get spooked. All the spirits at Mizpah are good-natured. The scariest thing you might experience is a bit of difficulty sleeping, given the feeling that you're being watched. However, many guests have reported a calming presence in their rooms and hallways. There's even a belief that the spirits protect the hotel from harm. One day, a group of friends decided to take a trip to Tonopah and stay at the Mizpah Hotel. They were skeptical about the paranormal rumors surrounding the hotel, but wanted to experience it for themselves. As they checked into their rooms, one friend noticed that the room key had 502 engraved on it. Excitedly, she shared with her friends that this was rumored to be one of the most haunted rooms in the hotel. That night, as they settled in for bed, they heard strange noises coming from outside their window. One friend even felt someone sitting down on their bed, but when they turned around, no one was there. The next morning, they asked the hotel staff about any paranormal activity in their room. To their surprise, the staff confirmed that room 502 was known for unexplained occurrences, such as cold spots and objects moving on their own. When they checked out, the friend with room key 502 decided to keep it as a souvenir. But later that night, she received a call from her friends, who were still at the hotel. They told her that they heard a loud knocking coming from their door, and when they opened it, no one was there. The only explanation? The ghost of room 502 follows its key back to its rightful owner. In addition to these chilling stories, many guests have also reported seeing apparitions, hearing unexplainable noises, and feeling a sudden change in temperature. Some even claim to have captured ghostly figures in their photos taken at the hotel. My husband and I stayed at the Mizpah Hotel for our honeymoon. We were excited to stay in such a historic and reportedly haunted hotel. On our first night, we had trouble sleeping as we both felt like someone was watching us. At one point, I woke up feeling a cold hand on my shoulder, but when I turned around, I saw no one. The next day, we took part in the official paranormal investigation led by Ridgway himself. As we walked around with meter readers and cameras, we heard knocking sounds and saw orbs of light in multiple rooms, including room 413. Later that night, as we were sitting in the lobby, we saw a woman in a long white dress walking down the hall toward room 413. We asked the front desk about it, and they told us that the room used to be occupied by a lady who committed suicide after being jilted at the altar. On our last night, we decided to stay up late and see if we could experience any more paranormal activity. At around 2 a.m., we heard loud noises coming from outside our room, and when my husband went to check, he saw the same woman in white standing at the end of the hallway before disappearing into thin air. So these were just a few of the many paranormal experiences that guests have had at the Mizpah Hotel. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more haunted tales. And if you're feeling brave enough, why not book a room at the Mizpah Hotel and see for yourself? Just remember to keep an open mind, because you never know what ghostly encounters might await you at this haunted hotel in Tonopah.